Well, hello, hello, guys. Welcome to the show. It's the Elsa Kurt Show, and I am Elsa Kurt. Today, I have a great guest. We're going to be talking about some really important things and an incredible story. We have Kyle Overmyer on, and he's going to be sharing his story. So, Kyle, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much, Elsa. It's an honor and a pleasure, and I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely. So, Kyle, you were so gracious to share a little bit of your story with me. And it is a jaw dropper for sure. No question about it. It's a jaw dropper. But it's also one that is, I believe, incredibly, frighteningly relatable to so many people, particularly in the field of law enforcement and really worldwide, because what happened to you is we call it the slippery slope, right? And so let's go right into it. So tell me about, let's start with your policing career, how you got on the job and that experience.
I kind of started even like childhood, great childhood, both parents involved in my life. They're still married after almost 54 years. Speak to them every day. Went to a Catholic private school. Athletic, off to college for 2 years. Didn't know what I want to do after 2 years. My dad was a retired captain at the Sandusky County Sheriff's Office in Fremont, Ohio. Kind of said, hey, don't get into that. Don't get in that line of work. But I didn't listen to him. After 2 years of college, I dropped out and I came back and I then went through the police academy. From that point, I worked during that time a couple odd jobs and then finally got a job with the Sandusky County Sheriff's Office, actually in the corrections division. And from that point, I was promoted to road patrol. I ended up going back to college, obtaining an associate's degree in criminal justice. And then I had other aspirations to leave. And I went and got a bachelor's degree in business administration. I had some federal agents talk to me and they were interested. They said, hey, do this. And this is how you get your foot in the door. Long story short, got heavily into drug interdiction, which is ironic. And that led me then to the detective bureau. The sheriff prior to me got wind I was leaving. I did a couple rounds with the Secret Service. I was doing some interviewing and he came to me and he said, hey, I don't want to lose you. What if I make you detective? And I said, well, maybe. He goes, I'm going to promote you to sergeant just to keep you. So I went from there, moved up the ranks to captain in the detective bureau, handled everything from homicides, armed robberies, but I still had that love for drug investigations. Assigned, started working undercover with DEA for about 3 years. Bought up to 20 kilos of cocaine, did some crazy stuff. And the sheriff, he always said, someday you keep doing what you're doing, you would be a good leader for this sheriff's office. And all of a sudden he passed away and I was only 34 years old. And ultimately at 34, myself and I went up against my chief deputy of the time and they appointed me as the sheriff of Sandusky County.
And you were the youngest in the state, correct? Youngest elected sheriff in the state. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
That's pretty.
2008.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty exceptional. I mean, the career path, now the course of that from the time that you joined to the time you were elected sheriff, how many years was that?
I started full time in 1996. So
okay.
it was pretty quick.
Yeah, that's fast.
Yeah. So it did happen fast and it was kind of shocking, but I embraced it and I ran with it.
So amazing to have that kind of career in that short period of time. And it's a great testament to your love of the job, obviously, and your commitment to it. Then something happened. You were diagnosed with arthritis, correct?
Correct. I had broken both my ankles in my youth playing sports. So lo and behold, I went to a specialist and ended up getting prescribed 105 Vicodin a month. And those 105 Vicodin not only took care of the physical pain, but started to numb the mental pain. I had been involved with a fatal shooting, saw 3 children drowned, a multitude of so many things. And there were some struggles between my ex-wife and I at home. And it was the easy way out. And that's what numbed the pain rather than the physical pain. And it outweighed the physical pain. So things got out of control.
Yeah. How quickly did that happen, or slowly did that happen?
I would say after about, they say you can be addicted within about 3 days to opiates.
Wow.
And
Didn't know that.
yeah, so I saw myself within probably a year, really, really, gravitating towards needing them. I mean, and then I went to the full extent of multiple doctors, the doctor shopping, making up lies and manipulating to get the prescriptions. And then we would have the take back boxes where they would throw away the old prescriptions. So I got crafty and they were being thrown away. So nobody would ever miss them. So I took those to, feed my addiction as well. And, Elsa, thinking back, and I mean, it was nothing for me to take 20 pills a day,
Wow.
It was.
I'm so naive, Kyle. What is like the typical dosage in a day that you would take for something like that?
Well, Vicodins, they were, say 7.5 milligrams, but, I was also getting Percocets too. And, and so those were lower doses, but you're taking, 30 to 40 milligrams a day. That's a lot. I mean, you're really numb then.
Oof,
yeah. That was my morning routine. I would always, wake up, and the first thing, I had my cabinet, and right by my duty weapon, I had my stash of pills hidden because I knew, my wife then or my children wouldn't find them because they wouldn't get around my gun. And that would be my first thing that I would pick up every morning to start my day. It was the only way I could get through, and it would continue throughout the day.
Wow. Now, and I think it's probably important to mention too, that this was 2008. Is that right? When this started?
Well, no, it was probably around when I actually started was probably 2013 is when they diagnosed me. So there was some time lapse, from when I became sheriff to then. And, because 2016 is when the walls came caving in on me.
Oh, I bet. And at that time, did anyone close to you, your wife, your coworkers, did they see, was there like a drastic change in your personality or anything like that? Or were you just maintaining? Like, did you have the mask on?
I did. I wore, and I talk about it sometimes, inside, I'm dying inside, but I'm smiling on the outside. Everybody thought I was one of the happiest guys. He had, I had everything under control, the all-American life. And it was a facade. It was phony. And so I was good at what I did. And I think I fooled everybody.
I feel like this is a common story too, sadly, that, being on the job that you guys are on in the first place, it's already natural to wear the mask, to put on the facade, to be, the strong guy, the tough guy, the guy that can handle anything, the unflappable guy. So you're already wearing that mask. So it probably was just, in a warped way, natural to continue to do that. At what point did that facade start to drop?
Well, February 3rd, 2015 is when was a real turning point. I went to go fill a prescription. I knew it was like on clockwork on the 3rd of every month. And I went, and the pharmacist, she said, "Hey, Kyle, I want to talk to you this side." Here, I'm thinking something, criminal activity, illegal activities going on. And she wanted to speak with me. She says, "Look, you're getting opiates from multiple doctors, and we can't give them to you. We're going to stop you." And I thought, oh my God, that is the turning point where I was embarrassed. I was scared. I was sick, and I knew I had to do something. And that was the day I went and flushed my last Vicodin down the toilet.
Wow.
And I went to go cold turkey, and I got sick, and I got
Mhm.
sick, and I got real sick because I detoxed myself. I mean, I'm used to, say 20 pills a day, and they're all gone.
Wow. You went
I'm
from
not
20 a day to nothing. You just
to
wow.
nothing. And how I did it was, my ex-wife, she was a school teacher. My kids would go to school. I can manipulate my schedule, put my uniform on like was going, and then I pull my vehicle in and go lay down in my home and sleep all of it off. So I figured it out like I'd figured out during my full-blown addiction, to keep the mask on.
Mhm.
And so I continue to do that. And that was in 2015.
Okay. Wow. That is so incredible. And still, so keep walking me through. So you detox yourself.
Correct.
How long did that last? Was that a permanent detox for you, or
Yes.
did you
Yes.
lapse?
No, I've
Wow.
never relapsed.
That's incredible. That truly is incredible, because that's one of the hardest things to, to stay off of that, to stay clean, because it is so incredibly highly addictive. So what happened next after that once you were clean?
Yeah. So I was getting ready to run for my third term as sheriff, and I had an opponent. And then things started to get dug up on me.
Mm.
They eventually, I won the primary, and the rumblings were out there. There was rumors that, there was a problem. I had to address that with the media. And of course, I was in denial. I lied, said, nope, they're crazy. They're just trying to headhunt me. And yeah, I won the primary, and then the general was coming, and they opened a full-blown investigation on me.
Wow.
And they brought the attorney general's office in, and I was running for general election, and August 23rd, 2016, I'm at the ribbon cutting of the Sandusky County Fair in uniform. And by that evening at 6:30, 7 o'clock, I'm in an orange jumpsuit with a 42 count indictment.
42 count indictment. I can't even imagine going from such extremes from one to the other. I mean, literally within a day, within a matter of hours, you're doing a ribbon cutting, and then hours later, essentially, you're looking at a prison sentence. What happened then? What were you thinking? What were you going through at that time? Because it's almost insult on injury in a way, because you're clean at this point. Like,
Yeah.
you
And I
thought you
understand.
walked away from this and got out scot-free, so to speak. And here it is biting you, really.
Yeah. And what happened was, I was still so hard-headed. My ego was big, and I was in denial, and I didn't want anybody to know my secret. So I bonded out. I got bonded out, and I continued to march in parades and ran for sheriff.
Mm.
And I still had the support. There were so many believers in me. And on November, during that time, I ended up getting a notice. My son's birthday was coming up, and I bought him a crossbow for his birthday. He considered that a dangerous weapon. I dropped my son off. His birthday was going to be November 7th. I dropped my son off November 3rd to school, and he's like, Dad, are you going to? I go, I got this. I'll see you after school. I went there. They revoked it and locked me up, and that was it.
Wow.
They put my bond so high I couldn't get out. And that is where the turning point of me admitting and starting to talk about my addiction.
Oof. And at that point, you were still married at that point.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And I have a daughter too, and a son too.
Mhm.
At this point, my daughter's 21, and now my son is 18.
Wow. Wow. So they were a part of this incredible journey, we'll call it. We'll call it a journey, because that's what it is. That's what it becomes, a journey. How did this all affect your relationships with your wife, with the kids? Did that fracture? I know you said it, I said ex-wife, so I know things fractured there, but walk us through, if you could and would.
Okay. Yes. So working with the attorneys, I ended up pleading to 12 counts. I was locked up until on December 13th. I ended up pleading guilty on 12 felony counts. During that time also, I had a girlfriend. I was cheating on my wife. And they ended up finding out because they played my jail phone calls in the news media. And that's how it all got revealed. While I'm locked up, and my kids, that's how my kids found out. Ultimately, of course, we ended up getting a divorce. My ex-wife, wonderful woman, forgave me. We get along great these days. And I didn't get to see my kids because I was ended up sentenced for 4 years in prison.
So you served 4 years.
I served all 4.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm. And they didn't want to see me in that capacity, but I talked to them every day. Mm-hmm. And I had to continue to work on that relationship. And it's amazing today.
That's what a testament to your ex-wife and to her strength, and of course all of you for navigating such an unbelievably difficult situation, because you have all of this going on, and it's also on top of that, it's being played out in public. So your private life, your personal life is fodder for almost tabloid like for your community in your town and state. That had to make things a 1,000 times worse, I would imagine.
And it never stopped. I mean, while I served my prison time, you can't have like 2 different vitamins in one bottle, and I consolidated them. I ended up getting a ticket, and guess what? It ended up in the newspaper to make it look like I was smuggling pills in, and they were vitamins that I bought off the commissary. Mm-hmm. They continued on articles after articles throughout my 4 years, even up until I went to the halfway house as I was exiting prison. Mm-hmm. I mean, it never went away.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And the media is brutal. People for some twisted reason love dirt. They love dirt and grime. And, this is why I love doing this, because I love redemption stories. I love success stories. I love people changing their stories and doing what you're doing, which is helping other people now. So let's, if you don't mind, let's kind of skip forward to right now, because you took something, truly devastating in so many ways, and you made a conscious choice to find good and create good from this. So tell everyone what you are doing now.
Well, a little bit backwards. When I did get released, I got released April 6, 2020. I got out. I was homeless for a little bit. Found myself in a spare bedroom on an air mattress from an old friend. And I was frying chicken back in my hometown. Believe it or not. Mm-hmm. A lot of people made memes over me on Facebook, made fun of me. I held in strong. And from that point, ended up working at a treatment center on midnights as a behavioral tech, worked my way up. Then at that point, November 22nd of 2020, met my wife now. 6 weeks later, we got married, and she was living in the Columbus area and I was living up north. So I was going to commute for a while. 7 days later, a treatment facility has seen my story and offered me a position down at a treatment center down in Columbus, which worked out perfectly. And today, from that point, I work now for Dream Life Recovery in outreach and business development to help others that are suffering as well to get into treatment. And I love my job. I love it more than being the sheriff, I have to say, because you can actually see physically the beginning of someone's treatment to the end now, and I'll help people get into treatment, and I still try to keep in touch with them and the family as well to know that they're doing well. So, and that's what I do now. On top of, I travel, I tell my story as a motivational speaker with my, the business that my wife helped me start is KO Addiction.
I love that. Is that, I always love boxing. So not only is that a play on both your initials and knockout, or is it
Yeah.
just coincidental?
And, and I was a childhood boxer.
Oh,
So, and my wife came up with it one day while she was sitting there, and she's like, "Why don't you do?" And it all worked out. And yeah, and everybody as a kid, they all used to call me KO.
oh, that's awesome. I love that. Very,
That
very
was my
cool.
that was my nickname.
Great initials. I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that is wonderful. And your wife, by the way, I have seen pictures of your wife. She's so beautiful. She sounds like such a wonderful woman and a great partner for you in this chapter of your life because you're really doing some pretty amazing things. So highly commendable for sure.
Yes, yeah. She married me when I had nothing. So there's your answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go back for just a moment and talk about an aspect of this. And I've talked to other law enforcement officers recovering from opiate addiction, and for the same reasons. And I think this is one of our biggest problems that we have. Of course, I'm being very specific about law enforcement because that's kind of the lane we're in. And it certainly applies to other people as well in different walks of life. But the quick to prescribe opiates for ailments and problems instead of training other therapies, other avenues. And I think this is one of our biggest problems that, we put these medical band-aids on problems that really need something different. Would you agree with that? Do you think that that's one of our big problems? That's just my perspective. So is that something you would agree with and have seen as well?
Yeah, and I think so many, unfortunately, and I never blamed the physicians because they gave them to me, but I was the one chasing them then. But I think a lot of them were so quick to utilize the opiates rather than looking at the alternatives. And I think you're correct, Elsa. There are so many other alternative options out there now that people need to really look at. And you know what? We're not going to have these problems anymore. Maybe not. I can't say anymore, but there'll be a decrease and a decline in opioid addiction and overdoses, which is really crazy right now with the fentanyl.
It's terrifying. It's absolutely frightening what's going on these days. And thank goodness for people like you, Kyle, who are going out there and sharing, being so generous. I think this is such an act of grace that you are sharing your personal stories with people in order to help them. You did mention that you go around to different places. Do you have events coming up that people can attend or maybe watch online? Where can people find you?
Well, they can find me, of course, on Facebook, on Kyle Overmyer. You can always message me, reach out to me. I give my personal cell phone out all the time, 419-455-0793. Anybody struggling or a family member, I return every phone call and every message. I think is very important. And I think in this day and age, especially with a struggle of addiction, communication is the key to success.
I agree with you completely. That is so true. And I think that's so cool that you give your personal number out. There's proof right there that you're the real deal, that you are out there to help people. And I think that's amazing. You and I talked a little bit offline, and we're going to talk more offline, or off video, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
About the book that you should be writing that needs to be written, because I think there's people that need to read this story. So we are going to we're gonna talk about that. I think that would be a pretty amazing thing.
I think it's a definite thing that must be done.
Mhm.
My wife talks about it every day.
Awesome.
So happy life, happy wife.
That's
But
right.
she's right. But it's a crazy story, but it'll be a story that maybe if it saves one life, it's worth writing.
Absolutely. All right. So you all heard that, and now I'm gonna pin Kyle down. I'm gonna get him to agree to come back again when he has that book written and ready for release, so that we can talk about the book and tell everybody where to buy that book. So that's your next appearance on the Elsa Kurt Show, right?
That sounds like a deal, a
I
real deal.
love it.
Then
Awesome.
I got to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Now you have witnesses that are going to be like, "Hey, Kyle, you said you're going to do it, so we're going to hold you to it."
Yes. Oh, I'm glad you said that. That's good.
Awesome. Good. All right, guys. This has been Kyle Overmyer. He is so gracious to share his story with us, and we all hope that helps. Even if it helps just one person, that is wonderful. So thank you guys so much for watching the show today, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Hey, family, if you're looking for the perfect gift for the reader in your life, why not check out one of my books? They're all available on Amazon and most major online book retailers, as well as elsakurt.com.